Good morning and welcome everyone. If you don't find a chair, just grab one and put it over somewhere. And welcome to those of you who are watching us on streaming still. That's going to go on for quite a while, and it's okay. We're glad we're all here together. So, where should I start? So we'll begin our service today with the three homages chant, and that will be followed by our Shoshinge chant. Because of our pandemic problem, we need to chant in our heads, so it's mind chanting. And today is a special treat. We will be accompanied in the chant by Dr. Matsunaga, so that's fun. He was a very innovative person. So this chant I found a recording of, and he tried chanting with an organist. So it'll be interesting. The Shoshinge book, which looks like this, is in the seat back pocket behind you. That sounded backwards from the airplane, but okay. So, if you're at home and you have a Shoshinge book, there's one posted online, chant your little heart out. Here we will mind chant the Shoshinge. It was written by Shinran Shonin, the founder of our lineage. Boy, I might feel like my mic is ringing off the hook. Okay. The Shoshinge was written by the founder of our lineage about 800 years ago, and the Shoshinge compresses his experiences and insights with Pure Land Buddhism into one lyrical poem. So that's why we chant it. Shinran wanted us to know that our life is more than just a simple journey from cradle to grave, that we are part of a long, unbroken thread of life that extends deep into the past, and we are responsible to extend that thread onward into the future. Offering incense, I'm going to encourage everyone to offer incense during the chant. The incense offering table here, the Oshoko table, is all set up. We would encourage you to go kind of one at a time and make it a walking meditation with space in between us, so that everyone gets a chance and we can do it safely. There's also two other altars, an altar to Kannon Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva of Compassion, on this side for specific requests and entreaties, and then a smaller altar over here to the Medicine Buddha, which is for more specific health-related issues. So I feel like I've gone through the whole list, but as Reverend Shelley said last time, I'm a little bit sick of reading it, so I'm just completely going off script. Oh well. Offering incense is a cleansing of the mind and body before we receive the Dharma. So the burning of incense, it symbolizes transcending our selfishness and kind of becoming one with all as we watch the incense smoke interconnect with everything. Here on the altar is Amida Buddha offering boundless wisdom and compassion to us all. Please offer incense with an open heart and deep gratitude to all your teachers. Thank you. Oh my. Oh, Linda, could you close the door, please? Thank you. Okay, the outside door was open. Motorcycles go by and it's a little loud, so thank you.
Three homages. Udam saranam
Sangam Saranam Gacchami.
Shoshinge.
Namandavs, namandavs, namandavs. Kimyo muryo junyo rai. Namu kukai shingi kot. Ojo busai nijit. Zai seji zai obushot. Token shobu jodoin. Kokudo ni ne shizemake. Konryu mujo shushogan. Shohoke udai nguzei. Goko shi shi shonyut. Yusemyo shomonji pot. Uho muryo muhenko. Munye mutaiko yenot. Shoujo kangi chie kot. Udan nashi mushokot. Shonichi ngako shojin set. Yesai gunjo mukoshot. Ongam yongo shonyogot. Shishi shingyo kaniyet. Jodo gaku shodai nehan. Yeshime no ganjojut. Nyorai shoi koshuset. Yuisemida hongankai. Gojuku akuji gunjokai. Oshin nyorai nyojitsugo. Noho ichine kiaishin. Udan bon no tokune han. Bonshu gyaku hosai enyut. Nyoshu shin yu kai ichimut. Seishu shin konjo shogot. Inosui hamu myoan. Tonnai shinzo shiwonmut. Jofu shinji shinjin ten. Inyon yiko huwamut. Umu shinge myomuan. Gyaku shingen kyo daikyo kit. Soku o chose go akushut. Esai zemaku bonbunit. Monshin yorai kuzegan. Utsugon kodai shonge shat. Zenimyo undari ke bidabu hongan nebut. Jaken gyoman akusujot. Shingyo juji zinninan. Nanchushi namukashi. Indo saiten shironget. Shukaji chiiki shikosot. Kendai shoko se shoyit. Myonyorai honze okit. Shaka nyorai ryongaset. Ishugomyo. Nanten shikut. Yuju daiji shudoset. Shizuno zai haumuken. Senze daijo mujo. Shokan iji shoandaku. Kenji nan yoroku roku. 正行異行指導楽奥念弥陀仏本願知念即時入必上唯の上昇如来語応報大悲偶世音天神菩薩増乱世奇妙無下公如来永寿たら見真実光線王朝大誓願こういう本願力へ語移動群上所有心記入功徳大崩壊筆逆入大へ収集特使連芸造世界即小心如法所信有本の臨芸人図入所自恩自応下本自頓乱両天使上高乱小菩薩大三蔵律師十条教本所宣行気楽法天神菩薩論中へ報道因果見世願大芸へこうゆたりき少女心唯心人枠前本部新人法承知所持即涅槃一心無量光明道小宇衆上開復結道三下小道難所唯妙上の活入万全自力変言集円満徳語感染症三部三神慶音語増魔法明道因一生増悪知偶税善如開小妙化全道独妙部所依公愛上三四逆悪公明明語見因念介入本願大智慧表者所有今後心教義一年尊語用意大と逆三人即小法所市上楽原神公開一大行延期安如開催先祖出身反戦人法決二度小弁律国中悪人唯小仏我薬在非世主中煩悩諸言随不見大悲無見上昇願本自言具妙仏教連民全幕本部に新宗教諸公編集戦弱本願具悪説現来所持連天月下地議場異所信即入弱上無意楽一心人異能入具兄弟自主士と上妻無変極辱悪同族自主具道心唯一確信心こそ 願にしくどおげ病のせいさえどぼなえしんおよNamandavs, Namandavs, 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 Namandavs.
We will now have a few moments of peaceful meditation. All these buttons and straps and getting up on the platform in my voluptuous robe. All right, welcome. Wonderful to see so many faces we haven't seen in a long time and faces that are new, and we just really appreciate you being here, and everyone who's tuning in. We really appreciate that very much. So, let me get to the Dharma talk. This is a special service honoring Reverend Matthew. Something is okay. It's a special service honoring our dear founders, Reverend Daigon and Alicia Matsunaga. So that is our founders wall over there on our founders wall. And you can see their pictures up there. So, it is still joyful, very joyful, to be able to have these Sunday gatherings and supportive sharing of Amida Buddha's infinite light. We are sharing the religious life together. Thank you all for your good energy and support, and thanks to those who have made hospitality bags for us to give out when people come ring our doorbell who are in need of some extra food or water or blankets. We now are well supplied, so thank you all very much for those who donated. This morning's Dharma talk is about the ever-expanding gifts from our founders. We want to honor and acknowledge them, and we do so traditionally in the month of February. Daigon and Alicia Matsunaga gave so much. They gave their kindness, sense of humor, wisdom, an example of calm in the face of a giant storm of life, strength of conviction, unrelenting effort, and most of all, they gave us the Dharma, the Nembutsu that we just chanted, and this temple. So who were the Matsunagas? We see their pictures over here on our founders wall, but many of our members, and certainly if you're new, you've never met them. Reverend Alicia died in 1998, and Reverend Daigon died in 2010. They were students of the Dharma and teachers all their lives, first at universities and then as temple masters. What can I share with you about Reverend Alicia? She was born in 1932 in Livermore, California. She considered Mount Shasta her home, her heart place, though. And she loved horses growing up. And that's why we have a pair of stirrups on our little memorial altar over there, so that something she loved is with her always. She earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from Cal Berkeley and a Master's of Arts from the University of Redlands, California. She was fluent in Japanese, and she received theological training in Kyoto, Japan, and a PhD from Claremont College in California. She taught for 9 years at UCLA. She taught Buddhism and Asian culture. One time, the retired bishop of the Buddhist Churches of America, our Nishi Honganji Shin Buddhist cousins to us here, visited us a few years ago. And he shared lots of stories about Reverend Alicia from his experience with her at UCLA. Most of all that he remembered was that she was really a tough teacher. She expected excellence from all of her students. Even so, he tuned in to the excellence that she expected and became her teacher's assistant and worked alongside her for years. And he appreciated her so much as his teacher. We love hearing stories about Reverend Alicia because we don't get to hear them that often, because we don't run into people who have actually met her and lived with her. When Reverend Daigon's father died, the couple was needed back in Japan. So she became co-minister of his family temple back in Hokkaido. Eikyoji is what the temple was called. And she lived and worked there with him for 11 years. In the meantime, Reverend Alicia's parents had retired here to Reno. And she and Daigon would come visit them from time to time. And in 1989, she and Daigon co-founded the Eikyoji Institute of America, a Nevada corporation, right here in Reno. So they planted the seed of Buddhism in 1989. And back then, that institution or building was located at 548 California Avenue, which is where Marilyn York's law offices are there now. The first people who attended their Sunday service were 3 humans and 4 dogs. We always love saying that. That's who they were. They loved animals, and so dogs were welcome at their services. In 1992, this church came up for sale. And so Daigon saw that, and he sold some family property back in Hokkaido and bought this church. And so RBC moved from California Avenue to here in 1992. And for 9 years, Reverend Alicia was temple master here, while Daigon was temple master back in Japan. And for that time, they flew back and forth across the Pacific, visiting each other and trading duties and just trying to support each other during that time. They both had so much passion and energy for running both temples. Reverend Matthew and I don't really know how they did that, but I think it was the infinite wisdom and compassion of the universe that helped them. So as I said, Alicia also had a great love of animals. And at one point, RBC was home to 2 very large dogs, a parrot, and 2 ferrets. And at tea time downstairs, she would put her little ferrets on leashes and walk them around and let them greet the members here. Sometimes the ferrets would get off their little leashes and run around, and Reverend Matthew remembers trying to hunt them down. I think they hid in a cabinet in the kitchen or something, where everyone was trying to find these loose ferrets. So today we have 2 cute little beagles as our temple dogs, animals here at the temple. We are allergic to cats and don't really know what to do with ferrets, so we stick with dogs. So Reverend Alicia Orloff Matsunaga died of cancer in 1998, right here on the 3rd floor where Reverend Matthew and I now live. When we arrived here in 1997, only attended her Dharma talks 2 times. Reverend Matthew had 1 conversation with Reverend Alicia. And he asked if someone who was trained in Theravada Buddhism would be welcome at RBC. And of course she said this was a place that welcomes all Buddhists, no matter what your experience. So both Matsunagas were always very welcoming, and we continue that tradition today. While preparing for this Dharma talk, we came across some short Dharma messages from Reverend Alicia. One from her many dial-a-sermon things you could call in on your phone, and she would give you a 2 or 3 minute Dharma talk on the phone. So she did these all through her time here during the 90s. So we will now listen to Reverend Alicia.
This is the Reno Buddhist Church. Today's message is entitled Suffering. The first sermon the historical Buddha Shakyamuni preached to his original core of disciples in Deer Park at Istipatana was the 4 Noble Truths, along with the principle of the Middle Way. The 4 Noble Truths declare: 1. Suffering, dukkha, exists. 2. There is a cause of suffering. 3. That cause can be terminated. And 4. The means by which to terminate the cause. The first noble truth, suffering exists, basically means that life is suffering. Now, this is not a pessimistic view of existence, but rather is realistic. The historical Buddha's view of life could be termed as being a doctor, and as a doctor he provided a diagnosis, first to discover the problem, its cause, determining it is curable, and lastly, the cure. Saying that life is suffering basically means a description of mortal life, beset not only by obvious sufferings such as pain, sickness, old age, and the inevitability of death, but also by the loss of loved ones, not receiving what we desire, having to endure things we dislike, the fact that the world around us constantly changes and does not move in accord to our rhythm. All these are sufferings. Even happiness causes suffering, as we are unable to hold it, grasp it, and keep it. There is no perfect happiness, nor unalloyed pleasure, and even the most beautiful experience has a bittersweet flavor because we know it cannot last. In our own minds, we fight and struggle against this basic reality of life and rationalize the frustration or pain along the way and say it is short-lived. But we are capable of overcoming it, and eventually, with sufficient good luck, we will have wealth, power, and the attainment of a solid goal, and then we will attain happiness forever. But this is refusal to accept our human condition, a desire to submerge ourselves in the world of fantasy and escape reality. Before we can attain a true understanding of the nature of our life and our role in existence, we must spend some time in self-reflection, recognizing that life is not satisfactory, and asking ourselves why we're uneasy, why life is not as we wish it to be. Realizing that life cannot be lived as a fantasy to suit ourselves is the first step to curing the cause for our alienation with reality, the cause that leads to our suffering. And this self-reflection is the first step towards enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Our next formal service will be held February 25th at 11 a.m. at 820 Plumas. We invite you to attend. Thank you.
Alicia sounds so very educated and well-spoken, doesn't she? Kind of her voice reminds me of old-timey 1920s sort of voice. So I like hearing her. She starts with the Four Noble Truths. We usually say the first one a little differently. Instead of saying life is suffering, we say life can be joyful, but it is not. The Buddha saw this when he first snuck out of his father's palace, seeing for the first time old age, sickness, and death. Our own experience of the pandemic is a stark illustration of this first noble truth. I think half of what we all talk about is just the pandemic, the virus, all the rules. It contains the classic Buddhist elements of old age, sickness, and death. The old are much more susceptible to sickness from the COVID virus. They are at much greater risk of death than younger people. The Nembutsu, Namu Amida Butsu, is the heart of the Shin Buddhist tradition. It is our simple method of recognizing these truths. It is an expression of our shared religious life. It is our practice. Our meaning, the practice of Amida Buddha and myself together. Normally, the Nembutsu is understood as taking refuge, with the formula, I, a foolish being, Namu, bow down and take refuge in Amida Buddha, the wisdom and compassion of the universe. This is a good basic understanding. When we look deeper at Namu Amida Butsu, it can be a map of the Four Noble Truths that Reverend Alicia just shared with us. The four essential truths that the Buddha realized on the night of his enlightenment are in Namu Amida Butsu. Na represents the I who suffers. Mu, the cause of joyless life, is our wanting things, wanting ideas. Amida, if we remove that cause of constant wanting, infinite joy flows in. Butsu, the way to live without wanting, is the Buddha's way. So in Namu Amida Butsu, Na represents our life under the full influence of wanting and clinging. The first noble truth recognizing that we approach life in a joyless way. Mu, the second noble truth, that our unpleasant experiences are initiated by the one clear cause, wanting. Then our life is touched by Amida, the third noble truth. Being grateful to Amida removes that cause. It turns out when we are grateful, we are not wanting or thirsting. With the cause removed, we experience joyful life in 8 aspects. As Alicia said, the Buddha was like a doctor. He saw the illness, the joyless life. He sought out the cause of dis-ease experience, wanting, and prescribed a cure for it, gratitude. Those are the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. Sometimes in a college class, they use the version Reverend Alicia shared, talking more about suffering a lot. She was a college professor. We don't focus on that aspect as much here. Experiencing gratitude to the Buddha Amida is our way. Many friends are attracted to the Dharma when we do that. And who was Daigon Matsunaga? The other founder we celebrate today. He was born on June 22nd, 1941, and raised in the Eikyoji Buddhist Temple, the Temple of Eternal Teaching. That's what Eikyoji means. In Tadoshi, Hokkaido, Japan. The temple was established in 1900 by his grandfather, Reverend Taikyo Matsunaga, and then his father, Reverend Taiyo Matsunaga, grew the temple from a very small wooden shack to a characteristic, beautiful, traditional Japanese temple over his entire lifetime. Daigon used to say that he first heard the Nembutsu before he was born in his mother's belly. The Shoshinge was always part of everyday life as he grew up in the Valley of the White Birch. That's what Tadoshi means. He could chant the entire Shoshinge before he could read. His father was not only a temple master back then, he also served as a traveling prison chaplain. So he was away from Eikyoji much of the time when Daigon was small. The post-war years were a very difficult time in Japan, but Daigon seldom talked about difficulties. He loved going to the movies. And in his tiny village, and it was pretty tiny, they had 3 movie theaters. So in this way, he was going to experience the outside world that really guided his life. And he loved going to American Western movies the most. Maybe that planted a seed for his love of Reno. Certainly it helped him learn English. After studying in Kyoto, and he was ordained, and further Buddhist theological training, he went to USC Theological School in California on a scholarship. He received his master's and PhD at Claremont College, and that is where he met Reverend Alicia. He was appointed professor at California State University in Northridge, where he taught Japanese history and Buddhism for 13 years. Because of his academic success, Daigon was summoned back to Tokyo to establish the International Buddhist Study Center at our headquarters temple in Tokyo, Honganji. And he also became an advisor to the high priest of our lineage. When his father passed away, Daigon became the temple master of Eikyoji, Hokkaido, in 1976. He also held a position of a visiting professor at the University of Wales in the UK, and that he lectured there from time to time. And then they started Reno Buddhist Center, first managed by Reverend Alicia for about 9 years, and then after her passing, Daigon alone managed RBC and Eikyoji. We don't think he slept much. Sadly, Daigon was diagnosed with cancer in 2006 and was ill for 4 years before he died. He was not able to travel to Reno much during that time, but he did once in 2008 against his doctor's wishes. He was determined to be with us. But every 2 weeks, during the 4 years he was ill, he faithfully got up at 2 a.m. and he beamed live Dharma talks to us here during our time at 10 a.m. every other Sunday. There used to be a huge monitor sitting right here, and we would watch him on TV. So if you were new and coming into our temple back then, and you saw this big TV and you saw us watching television during our services, it might have been a little strange, but that's what he gave us, and that was amazing. It was wonderful. So we appreciate him so much for going to that huge effort. So let's hear some of Daigon's teaching. Another dial-a sermon from a little micro tape that we found in the back of a drawer as we were scouring the temple for any hints of Daigon and Reverend Alicia. So we found this tape.
Today's message deals with the fundamental Buddhist attitude toward life known as the middle way. With the complexities and confusions of modern society, mankind is desperately searching for new values, new solutions for current problems, and an entire new way of life. But we must remember that what we believe to be new and contemporary is not necessarily truthful. Yet truth is forever new. Being 2,500 years old, Buddhism is an ancient religion. Yet its thought transcends cultural and racial differences as well as chronological time. It does offer us new solutions for the problems of the modern age. Why is Buddhism contemporary? Because it has always dealt with the reality of human existence. It is a philosophy of life for common suffering man. Buddhism commences with a very true observation of the nature of human existence. And the middle way, which is neither optimistic nor pessimistic, is the basic attitude of Buddhist life. Optimists tend to obscure or evade the suffering reality of man. But without honestly confronting the fact of human suffering, they fail to find a solution for man's dilemma. Pessimists, on the other hand, completely submerge themselves in suffering and are overwhelmed by their negative view of life and despair. They thus amplify their own suffering and fail to find even a clue to solve their life problems. Avoiding the extremes of optimism and pessimism, Buddhism teaches us first to observe and recognize the suffering reality of our life as calmly as possible without panic or fear. And self-reflection becomes the starting point to find the solution for our problems as well as the beginning of our spiritual salvation. Through honest inner self-reflection, discovery of the true plight of our existence can be accomplished. To see reality as it really is, without distortion, is essential for our salvation. Thank you. Today's message deals with the fundamental Buddhist ethics.
Here, Daigon talks about the middle way, the path of the Buddha. He used to describe life in the middle way as like driving a car. Daigon drove a Cadillac, of all things, in Japan. I think his life in California kind of influenced his car purchase. Now in Japan, driving a Cadillac is odd. It was a medium-sized one, though, not the huge one. But at the Eikyoji temple, it barely fit in his garage, and he had to climb out the window because he couldn't open the door. That's how much he loved his car. So, he would say the middle way was like driving a car. You have to stay in your lane, not too much to the left, not too much to the right, and if you drive too aggressively and break all the rules, that's not good. But if you drive too meticulously and follow every single rule, that might not be good either. That might end up getting you rear-ended maybe. Somewhere in the dynamic middle of these extremes is the middle way. Driving in the flow without rebellion or self-righteousness. Probably everything we do has this spectrum. Mindfulness in an ever-changing world. We are constantly finding this dynamic middle. It's another way dear Daigon spoke of the middle way. There are so many middles in Buddhism. Aspects of this middle way we have embarked upon together. The middle between self-indulgence and self-denial. The middle between past and the future. the middle between being and non-being. Daigon taught about these all. This middle way exists in the Nembutsu, Sei Namu Amida Butsu, the practice completely present in the moment called now. The dynamic middle where we are all fundamentally and absolutely connected to all that is, was, or will be. The great vow of Amida Buddha only acts in what we call now, to save all beings no matter what they are like. This is the universal vow, the primal vow. The only act required is to sincerely and deeply call out right now. From here in the middle, the small self calls out to the larger universe and is rescued, never to be let go. The wisdom and compassion of the universe will help you to be joyful, help you to be free from harm, help you to receive boundless compassion, and fill your heart with peace and harmony. In this moment, right here, in the middle, between distorted memory of the past and the imagined of the future, Daigon taught us this, and he was happy to share this and all Dharma lessons. Our founders gave us a Buddhist way of thinking. When Reverend Matthew last visited Eikyoji in 2009, Daigon was very ill. He was no longer able to eat, and he had to rest most of the day. Pain made it difficult to stand still for long. They talked about RBC, and that Tokyo Honganji and Otani Sensei would always be there for us. Their gifts were the gifts of Amida Buddha and Gautama Buddha, and all of Gautama Buddha to his students, and the gift of self-reflection. The gifts of all the Buddhas, the gifts that continue to expand in the universe outside and the universe inside our hearts. Daigon and Alicia cared deeply for everyone. Let us share their deep wish for all of us. Please repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be free from harm. May you receive boundless compassion. And may peace and harmony fill your heart. Namondaps, namondaps, namondaps. They would always end their Dharma talks with the Nembutsu in profound gratitude. Before we sing our temple song, I would like to share a little bit more about the background of why Home in the Meadow was chosen. It was another important gift from Reverend Alicia. Maybe it's odd that our RBC theme song, Home in the Meadow, comes from the movie How the West Was Won with Gregory Peck and Debbie Reynolds. We always wanted to invite Debbie here to sing it live for us, like when she would come to the casino and we knew she was in town, but we were always a little embarrassed to ask her. But who knows, she might have done it. We would listen to her on a cassette tape, and that cassette tape got stretched over time, and so her voice got deeper and deeper, and the song got slower and slower until one day it was just done. So we had to record it ourselves and just sing it ourselves. The connection to that song is this. Dr. Alicia was intrigued by the lyrics. It tells of a wondrous land in the West, a place where the hopeful heart and the willing hand are essential. Amida's pure land is in the West. A hopeful heart is a heart of true and trusting. It is a place of freedom and naturalness, where the grass grows wild and the winds blow free. The ultimate freedom is to be free from suffering. The song is a Pure Land Buddhist song, whether Debbie knew it or not. Alicia saw that, and she chose to share it with us. The double meaning of the song is also about the place we build together each day, this temple, a home in the meadow for Buddhism to grow. A home takes constant building and care, a refuge in the storm. We are all doing that building together, just as they hoped. We are continuing that building. You'll find the song in the back of our Shoshinge book, page, never can remember, 49. We will listen to a recording. Away, away, come away with me, where the grass grows wild and the winds blow free. Away, away, come away with me, and I'll build you a home in the meadow. Come, come, there's a wondrous land for the hopeful heart and the willing hand. Come, come, there's a wondrous land where I'll build you a home in the meadow. The stars, oh how bright and far, on a world of pure and eternal heart. The stars, oh how bright they'll shine, on the home we will build in the meadow. Come, come, there's a wondrous land for the hopeful heart and the willing hand. Come, there's a wondrous land where I'll build you a home in the meadow. Namandaps, namandaps, namandaps. Hearing that song over the years after the Matsunaga's passed used to make me really, really sad. But now I think I've tapped into more about their energy, their presence is still with us and supporting us and guiding us. And I think I've opened to that aspect a lot more. So I just feel gratitude and love and knowing that they are always here. They never left. So we're very grateful. And we're grateful to you, to everyone who continues to support RBC, to share in the Dharma, and to keep our Sangha strong during these difficult times. I have faith that we will be together in a more normal way soon. So thank you very much. Continue to be safe. Continue to do good and be there for your family and friends, and take care of yourself. Namandaps. Namandaps.